everybody. This is Carolina Millan. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Hustle. And today I'm here with one true hustler. It's Christian Zeron. He's the founder of Theo and Harris. We're going to hear all about that today. How are you, Christian?
I'm doing super well. Thank you so much for having me on, Carolina.
My pleasure. So first of all, for the few people that might not know you yet, who are listening or watching, please tell us a little bit about your background and how you decided to get started with this business.
Yeah, I'm a young guy. I'm 23. I'll be 24 in September.
I noticed that.
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey, so I live about 40 minutes outside of New York. And being so close to a metropolitan city, I was exposed to, at a very young age, some of the incredible things that money can buy if you have it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And out of all of those things, while I definitely appreciate many of them, watches were the medium that just stuck out most. When I was in college, watches became a little bit more popular on the internet thanks to a couple of, major successful blogs. And I was just part of what I'd consider like the early part of the new wave. So as a college freshman, I decided to start a retail company and sell watches, which at the time was a terrible idea. But 5 years later, here we are.
So how was the process? Like how did you take it from idea to execution and becoming a profitable company like you are today?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I think it's definitely, it's like a philosophical spectrum. I mean, how do you start something? How perfect does it need to be to start it? People fall on different ends of this spectrum, right? Some people want to launch perfectly. Little do they realize it's so not perfect, and they'll only find that out in a couple of months and years. And then other people will start kind of sloppily. I was somewhere in the middle. I definitely wanted to launch with a level of professionalism. I wanted to launch with a clear business plan. But that said, I mean, it was clear at the time of launch, again, as a college freshman, the company was nothing really that great. It was watches that weren't very interesting. My budget was incredibly small. I only had $10,000 to invest. And in the world of watches, most of our competitors start off with capital in excess of $1 million. So we're starting off with 10 in a business that really costs $1 million. It was a problem. So that's basically it. My philosophy was, let's put an infrastructure in place. Let's start an Instagram. Let's start a website through Squarespace. Let's build a small team. Let's do it. That's it. And we'll improve it as we go.
And how did you get the watches? Because college freshman, not much budget. And for what I've seen, you're selling luxury watches, or it wasn't always that way.
It wasn't. No, like I said, I had $10,000. I bought watches for $180 and tried to sell them for $240. By all measure, it was a waste of my time, right? It was not profitable. I mean, we've never had an unprofitable month. From month one of Theo and Harris, we were profitable. That being said, insignificant profitability. We're talking about a profit of, $400 after expenses were paid. You know what I mean? You're not going to start a life, with $300 in profit or $400 in profit. That being said, I was very lucky that I was in college and I did not have expenses. I lived at home and all those things. So I was able to own and operate a very insignificantly profitable company. From there, we invested and reinvested and reinvested. I never invested more than the $10,000 in capital to the company. I never actually, raised money again. But I took the 100 here and the 100 there and the 400 here and the 400 there and invested in better watches. And now we do a little over $2 million a year, which, with a change in strategy, probably in 2020, we'll probably do significantly more than that. We'll probably do $3 or $4 million.
Mm-hmm. What do you attribute the success of your strategy to? I know you do a lot of content. What other traffic sources are you using as well?
Yeah, as far as, tactics, social media marketing has been our, greatest, right? We create YouTube content no fewer than twice a week. At one point we were up to 6 times a week. So a lot of content. We post on Instagram very consistently. We are on Instagram, certainly, and on YouTube, we do our best or close to our best. We are very perceptive to what's succeeding on those mediums. I think that's very important. A lot of people that I see have a plan for their content and don't adjust it. I would, for example, our Instagram, the Theo and Harris Instagram, is photos of watches in my hand mostly. Mm-hmm. Not very sexy. It doesn't look very luxurious. I don't love it. That being said, when we've tested different styles of photos, that is what has succeeded because it's very obvious. It's right in people's faces, and people think that maybe it's more personal. I can't necessarily explain why. So we pivoted and said, okay, let's post photos of watches in my hand, whereas a lot of our competitors have ignored successes on certain fronts and stuck to what they like. And on social media, it doesn't work that way. I think that, listening and responding and doubling down on what is working on social is so important.
So what are the photos that work for you the best now?
It will, on Instagram, it would be photos that are kind of personal and quote unquote unprofessional. But with YouTube, high professionalism. The YouTube community, the way we've separated ourselves is genuinely producing some of the best content in the watch YouTube space. Not the best every day, but some of the best. So that's how we've separated on the two mediums.
How do people go from watching a video or seeing an Instagram photo to actually buying a watch? Is there a process that you have identified that works to make them want to buy?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, I would consider a very, kind of quick sales, I wouldn't say pattern, but I say system. We're very available. So if a watch that is being talked about is available most likely on our website, people will click right through and purchase. Sometimes a watch isn't available and it's through email. Basically, I've sold watches on almost every medium. I've sold watches through Instagram DM. I've sold watches through Facebook messaging. I've sold watches through Facebook Marketplace. I've sold watches through everything. eBay. It's been every single medium, and that's kind of the amazing part about operating a retail business online in 2019.
What about paid traffic? Are you running any paid ads?
No, it's definitely in our 2019/2020 plan. But to date, no, we haven't. It's not something that I was comfortable with as the director of the company. It's so wrong. I'd say that when I look back on the company's history in 10 years, I will say that was probably the biggest mistake I had made, that I didn't capitalize on certain paid traffic opportunities in 2018 and 2017 and 2019. But, you live and you learn and you do your best to improve on that. So it's definitely in my next 2-quarter plan.
So all of your sales right now are organic?
Yeah, all of our sales are organic. That being said, we have to pay a fortune in video production costs. It's certainly not free to run our media end. But no, we don't pay any search engines.
Yeah, that's why we say organic traffic, not free traffic. There's no such thing as free traffic. We know that.
Like, oh, wow, you do all this for free. That's incredible. I'm like, oh, no.
So you're 100% profit. No.
Yeah, exactly. No.
There is always a cost, of course. No, but that is remarkable. What do you think are the ingredients to a successful video marketing strategy that has allowed you to make this kind of money and this kind of results organically?
I think it's multifaceted. I think having a video with a clear-cut objective is very important. And that objective can't always just be views. I know so many people, so many of my colleagues that have tremendous views and no revenue. I don't want to be famous and not profitable. It's never something I was interested in. I would rather be well-known and respected by a small group of people and, be very profitable than the opposite. So for us, it's always been, okay, out of our content schedule for this month, for argument's sake, we usually break it down into the 2 weeks or the month. What needs to be represented? How many of these videos need to be direct watch shop or strap sale objectives, right? How many of the videos need to be, not clickbait, but videos that are only serve the purpose of getting views. Both of those exist in our monthly schedule, but I think it's very important to, remember that this is about making money. This isn't just about being famous. If you want to be famous, don't talk about watches on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what you need to do, but that's certainly not the way to become famous, Yeah,
it's definitely a niche, and I know it's a popular niche anyway, but yeah, it's right. If you want to be famous, we know what people do when they want to get famous. That's not it. So in your content strategy, do you like, what are the types of videos that you make so that people get a better understanding? Like, are they vlogs? Are they reviews? Is it both?
Honestly, we have tested basically everything. We've done vlogs. Some of our vlogs have done incredibly well, but I think that our greatest kind of tactic has been trying out a lot of different styles. I've only become extremely confident in our regular content in the last month and a half, 2 months. Now I think we've refocused and we operate on a level where every one of our videos, in respect to its space, is important, right? Everything is informational, everything, informational as a basis, and opinionated, right? Anyone can, with watches, just like cars, there are a lot of specifications. There are a lot of different facts, and that's great if you can read them. Wonderful, and especially if you can be interesting. But anyone can do that, right? Anyone could just Google the facts. But if we can provide visual interest, right? If our footage can be better than our competitors, that's a win. If I always incorporate my insights into a video, and in that, you develop a community of people that value your insights, that will choose to watch a Theo and Harris video over another video because, okay, I know I'm going to get my facts, but I also kind of want to know what Theo and Harris thinks, So it's just points of differentiation and improvement, over the status quo.
Now, you're reasonably young, of course. What did you do? More like, who did you have to become? Because at 19, 20, starting to run a company, there are certain responsibilities you have to take. What changes did you have to make in yourself as a person and entrepreneur?
A lot, as I'm sure you can imagine, and probably know for yourself, a lot. I think at 19, even now, I struggle with being a very mature, I hate the word CEO. I think it's, I don't like that, but that's the word, right? I hate, it's very hard to be a truly mature leader, right? And that means not lashing out sometimes when something terrible happens. And now I've done better at that only recently, and still I'm not perfect at it. But it's a very simple thing that I think a truly mature leader gets. You know what I mean? They get how to respond to crisis in a very tactful way without letting one's emotions get in front. I'm doing better now, and I am proud of myself. But that said, I have a long, almost 5-year history of doing terrible at that. Almost, being over emotional, right on a dime. That's one of the things. I think that overall, just thinking through tactics more thoroughly, and I see it in other businesses, whether it's in watches or not all the time. I think to myself, whether you walk into a cafe, you can almost size it up immediately and see where their immediate pressure points are. And you could say, you're not thinking about this thoroughly enough, But that being said, not everybody lives and breathes their business, and that's just fine. I happen to like it. To me, business is like a sport. It's just fun. I don't just do this for money. The money is a fun byproduct, but the fact is, this is just fun. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a blast. So some people don't enjoy it, and that's fine. For them, it's a means to mortgage. And I don't expect those people to make a perfect business or to strive for that every day. It's a cash register, So it's different for everybody.
No, I think it's important for me as well, to do something that it's fun. So that is awesome that you're enjoying it as well. That's important.
Love it.
Did you finish your degree, or did you drop out?
I did. No, I finished. I might have dropped out if my mom would have let me.
Okay.
I was actually on track to go to law school.
Oh.
So I had said since I was a little boy, I was going to go to law school, and until senior year of college, when I finally told mom and dad, I wasn't kidding, I'm not going, that it blew up. I did an internship at a law firm, and it was very serious and all that. And I just knew. I was like, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. And I'd heard so many horror stories of people listening to their parents' fears and taking them on. And I said, I'm not going to be the 35-year-old guy that says, I wish I didn't listen to mom and dad. I'm just not going to be that guy. If I screw up, I screw up. but it's going to be my screw up. I'm never going to say, wow, why didn't I listen to myself, you know?
Well, I guess there are a few exceptions.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, my parents have wonderful advice.
Yeah.
They're my rock. I mean, they're incredible counselors to me now. I mean, my mom works for the company. She's our office manager. Now she's embraced it. Sure, as soon as we became profitable, she embraced it, you know, but before then, not so much.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't blame them. I mean, they come from a generation and a family cultural background where no one was truly white collar, where there were no lawyers, there were no doctors, there were no, you know, successful people. Even though most of their family had money, they built little businesses, whether it was a string of dry cleaners or whether it was a mason company, you know, but that wasn't glamorous. That wasn't the American dream to them. So they saw that I had the potential to go to law school, which to them means much more than it means to anyone else. It's more of an abstract to them, and I didn't do it. So it was, you know, it was a funny argument now in retrospect, but at the time,
Yeah, absolutely. No, but that's cool. I mean, if you could do it all over again, you would have dropped out of?
Oh yeah. The only thing I would change, I would have acted a little bit quicker. I mean, I would have, you know, I wish I had an hour with freshman year Christian right now. I could give him an hour's worth of advice that would have saved so many mistakes and so much time wasting, you know, working in the wrong direction, but can't do that.
What are some of those mistakes that you made early on?
At the time, you know, I was resistant to go into video. I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe I was shy. I think starting something new is always scary because you start from zero again. You know, I thought that our success was going to be, you know, in writing, you know, in you know, basically the kind of content from an opinion point of view that we make on YouTube. But I didn't realize that, you know, it was video. Video was going to be the big thing. And one day my dad told me to go into video. I mean, and I did it. That being said, it was 6 months. It was 6 months past where it should have been. I should have been 6 months ahead, and I wasn't. You know, it was just little mistakes. I mean, that ultimately it probably amounted to a sacrifice of a lot of money. But you know, 2020 vision, right? Hindsight.
What are some of your current challenges when it comes to scaling? Like, and not just current, but maybe some challenges that you went through when you began to scale the business and now moving forward.
Yeah. I think that one of the big things I had a problem with early from a functions point of view is doing all of menial isn't the word. Menial is, you know, it's like reductive. I mean, I think that I was spending a lot of time doing things that I shouldn't have been, that other people should have been. And that doesn't mean they're not important. They're actually some of the most important functions in the business. Shipping is an incredibly important function. If they don't get shipped, then we lose, right? Everything goes to crap. You know, a lot of client emails or a lot of fan emails, you know, I was spending 5 hours a day answering fan emails. It's a bad idea. You can't do that. You need a more efficient system. You just can't do it. So it was things like that I wasted so much time on as far as coming to scale on the company. Beyond that, you know, capital, obviously I work in a very capital intensive or you know, space. And I had to struggle with that. It would have been much smarter if I had raised money 2 years ago. I could have raised $500,000 and I could have scaled the company much quicker. I didn't. You know, it's stuff like that you see in hindsight. But again, I'm here, so I don't hate it, you know, but could have been bigger, you know.
Yeah, I mean, coulda, woulda, shoulda, you know, we can always be regretting things.
Exactly.
But ultimately, so you haven't had the need to raise any capital at all, or only at the very beginning? No,
only that $10,000. Yeah.
Nice. And the $10,000 came from
it was birthday money that my parents had put away. Like my uncle would give me $50, my grandfather would give me $100, nice. And at the time I was 17, so it amounted, I think, to $9,738 or something like that.
Not too shabby for 19.
No, it was great. Very, very, very grateful for that. Very grateful.
Awesome. No, and you probably did something way more significant that most other 19, 20-year-old would have done with $10,000.
Yeah, I like to think so. I would like to think so.
Yeah, like taking a trip around the world.
Right. You know, it's funny. I mean, I have obviously a lot of peers that have a lot more money than I do. And I just think it's so funny, you know, what made a lot of money for people's grandparents is not the same thing. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people don't do what their grandparents did in so many ways. You know, they take that money and they go around the world, or they take that money and they take a 2 years vacation, or they take that money and they don't work hard. It's funny. I mean, and again, if money doesn't matter to you, then that's perfectly fine. You don't need to, like, that's great. But capitalism or work is to people like me, it's a game. So if we're all competing at it, like, it's fun, you know, and there are people that are better than others. It's just a game. I mean, it's not nearly as social and judgmental as people make it out to be, or at least not in my spheres. In my friends and all that, we all look at it as, you know, this is a fun thing. We should enjoy it. We should obviously do as best at it as we can. But there are different ways to go about it, and it's really fun.
Yeah, totally. If you weren't running this business, you know, selling watches, what else would you be doing?
I might be in law school. I'm, you know, if I didn't have the business to believe in, I may have just defaulted and went to law school. I don't know, but it's the only thing I can think of. I literally had this conversation 2 days ago. That would have sucked. Yeah, I would have graduated in May. This past May would have been my graduation month.
Wow.
I would have had like $200K in debt, and I would have had a law degree like everybody else. Sorry, no offense to lawyers out there. I mean,
no,
I'm sure
of course
they're all
not.
brilliant and much smarter than I am, and I know.
Still an important profession. It's
right. No, it's very important. And to say that I still don't a little bit wish that I had a graduate degree is a lie. I mean, I went to a college called Seton Hall. It's a good private institution in New Jersey. It's very small. It's not the kind of school you say you went to and people are like, oh wow, that's impressive. It's just a regular school, you know. I definitely envy the people that went to University of Pennsylvania and the people that went to Harvard and Yale. And it's funny when I meet them because they're like, holy shit, this is great what you did. And I'm like, yeah, but you're a UPenn graduate. That's really cool. Which is so stupid because who gives a shit? You know, it doesn't matter. It's such a stupid thing to care about. But on a level, I absolutely admire that achievement. I put weight in it emotionally, maybe that isn't just, but Jesus, do I envy those people?
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, it's, you know, we assign different values to different things, and everybody, absolutely. Other people would trade their University of Pennsylvania degree for what you have.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right.
So for people who are listening or watching who might want to get into not necessarily watches, but e-commerce, you know, selling goods, because what you do is basically arbitrage. Like you get the watches for cheaper and you sell them for a little bit more, right?
Yep.
Obviously there's a lot more to it, but
right, of course. No, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your advice for people who want to get into this type of business and want to get started? What would you tell them?
Big thing is, you know, weigh out how the competitors are communicating. And if you're considering getting into a space, weigh out the space, how the competitors are communicating. Think, can I communicate better than they can? And if that is the truth, then pursue it. If you're already in a space and now it's too late to turn back, and the competitors are competing at a very high level as far as communication, you have your work cut out. That sucks. You know, I was lucky that the field that I got into out of passion happened to be a space that people were not communicating very well in. That's pure luck. I didn't analyze the watch space and say, oh, I can communicate better. You know, it's an American phrase. I stepped in shit, right? That's just what happened. That being said, there's always a way to edge out people. Everyone can't do everything. And the people that can do everything, like those companies, they can't be as affordable as you can be. So there's your in. You know, I would say that there's one major company in my space that does what we do at a higher level, and they can't compete with us because we can always undercut as far as advertise. We can always be below them. They have 40 employees. It's a huge company. So of course they're incredible. Of course it's dynamic. They're operating with private equity funding. I mean, it's remarkable. It's remarkable what they do. But you have to find your edge. Right. And our edge is, in this instance, a younger voice. Right. You can't have everything, so that they've chosen to go after the older, more mature voice. That's wonderful. It's making them a fortune right now. But we chose to go after the people that kind of appeal a little bit more to the youthful side of them. and they'll graduate with us, right? Our 24-year-old fans that just graduated UPenn Law, if that's a thing, will one day be 29-year-old lawyers, right? And now we'll own the rich class. We'll own the attention of the 28-year-old wealthy, spender. So, you're not going to beat everybody. You're just not going to happen. I mean, and for those of you who do, salud. But everyone else, you can still become quite rich. Not that I'm quite rich, but you can still become quite rich being, smaller, and running a very, profitable company. It's obvious.
Yeah, exactly. And as long, like you've been saying, like as long as it's fun, for some people, once the growth goes a little bit too much over the top, right? You're growing. Sometimes it stops being fun, even if you're making more money.
Totally. I relate to that very much. On my phone screensaver, I always have one word. It's a color and one word. It's my motto, my mantra for that quarter or that year. And for the last couple of years, it was the word insatiable, which basically means, unable to be satisfied. Right. And that was a really great mantra. It probably made me a lot of money. I really liked it. That being said, it absolutely led to a decline in probably emotional stability. It never being enough is a very dangerous thing. You become very, it's like, I wouldn't say depressed because that's a condition and that's a totally different thing, but you become very down on yourself always. Even on a day that you may have made $18,000, you feel like shit, and how? Because you know that the $18,000 you made today is only a product of last quarter's good work. So now you're just the loser that's reaping the benefit of last quarter. Right. And that's how you rationalize the crappy feeling. Now my new thing is, what is it? It's forward momentum, right? That's on my phone right now. It's just because no, things are not always perfect right now, but as long as we have forward momentum, it's good. Yeah. We're becoming more profitable in the grand scheme. We're becoming stronger in the grand scheme. So I think that was a little bit of a mature shift in my thinking. Haven't necessarily reaped the benefits of it yet, but I think we're getting there.
No, totally. I love it. And I'm sure what you do, what you have going on right now is an inspiration to many younger people. So what would be your words of inspiration to the 20-somethings out there who are still in college, they want to do their thing, but they're not sure?
That's one of my favorite questions. And no one ever asked me this question. So it's a good question. To the 20-somethings that think they might be entrepreneurs, right? My biggest advice is, there are 14-year-olds that are making $400,000 a year right now. So you don't really have the time to think about it. Stop mulling it over, decide whether this is for you. And if it is, do it. Because like I said, there are 14-year-olds that are like 4 million liquid right now.
I know.
That can literally buy and sell you. Like, it's crazy, right? So you're not as ahead as you think you are. You're not as the whole rest of my life is ahead of me. Actually, you're a couple of years behind. That's my big advice to all, and that's not to say don't go out drinking. I love to go out drinking. That's not to say don't go to Oktoberfest. I'm going to Oktoberfest. Do the things that you want to do, but know very well, every time you're out is a sacrifice, right? It's in some way a back step toward becoming very successful, right? It just is. So I'd say don't think you're as head as you think you are.
That's funny. That's funny because I see that you have some Gary Vee books there on your shelf. And
yeah, my favorite.
He would probably say something very different.
Yep. I grew up in a little town in New Jersey. His sister was my teacher in school.
Oh, cool.
Which is weird. And his wine store was the wine store I went to as a kid when my dad wanted to go get wine. So I grew up literally in Gary Vee's shadow. I will never be as smart, as hardworking, or as successful as Gary Vaynerchuk. Never. But if I can even achieve a morsel of that, that's amazing. It's amazing. One of the things, he talks about is everyone thinks, $1 million a year, $1 million a year, $1 million a year. Unless you make $1 million, you're not very good, right? But, whatever, people think that, right? The reality is, yes, as he says it, right? The 1% of America, meaning you are a member of the top 1% of capitalists in the number one capitalist nation in the world, makes 400 grand. Yep. Right? Which is still a lot of money, but people forget that's a lot of money. People forget 400 means you're the top 1% of the best, right? Like, it's crazy. People lose sight. Everything's a million. Everyone wants to be a billionaire. You know, I'm like, I'd rather own a real business that makes money than your fake $1 billion business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. 100%. Final question. What is your vision for your business in the next 5 years, but also for yourself, for your legacy for the next few years?
Yeah. Business. I always go business wise. It's funny. I don't set big goals. I don't really set goals, period. I set I do set goals, just not future goals. I set monthly goals. How do I get to September successfully? That being said, our entire brand importance, not just our size, not just the awareness, but how important our brand is perceived to be, because right now we're the young guys on the block, right? So our brand importance is going to skyrocket. I have no doubt. The content we're putting together, the thought we're putting into it, the money we're spending, I think it's going to yield a tremendous return of our image. That's the number one. So notice how that's not even a matter of profit, right? Right now, I'm more focused on how does the company become more mature and more respected, and in turn more valuable, right? On a personal level, it's funny. It really, all I've ever really wanted to do personally is give my loved ones, my mom, my dad, my sister, my best friends, the opportunity and use my opportunity, right? The capital or whatever, to enable them to have a life that they enjoy as much as I enjoy mine. Right. I want to help my mom, my dad, some close friends, feel as in control of their lives as I am in mine. And I think that if I can do that, whether I get credit or not, I genuinely couldn't give less of a shit. That would make me a really, really happy person.
That's a very noble thing. I love it.
We'll see.
Awesome. So, Christian, thank you so much for your time today. It was super, super valuable and inspiring as well. Where can people find you if they want to follow you and the brand, or is it the same place?
It's separate. If you want to follow the brand, you follow Theo and Harris on YouTube and on Instagram. Again, we post tremendous watches, content, videos, informational as they are informative. If you want to follow me personally, whether that's the clothes I'm wearing or the debauchery I'm getting into, follow me at Christian Zeron on Instagram.
Excellent. All right. We'll be putting the links in the description. So thank you so much once again.
Thanks again. I genuinely appreciate it. You did a wonderful job. I love being on podcasts, and this was a particularly good one. You did wonderfully.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. I like to keep it natural, let it flow, and you did really good. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Take care.
Awesome. Talk to you soon. Take care.